Good morning. So this topic in our gospel today touches on something that we should all be very passionate about. And that's the measure of our love for God. What do I mean? Just consider our families and our children, or for that matter, as we celebrate our country and had an election, even our own nation. That which we love, we serve. We cherish, no matter what it costs us. And in a similar respect, that which we love little, in our actions value little, and in turn invest very little. And that's what our Lord is observing in the gospel today. Because God is all about love. And we see that in his own actions. When we needed his love, he loved us, turning over everything he had. That which meant most to him, he gave us his own son. That was the depth that God was willing to go for each and every one of us. So we find Christ today, being God, knowing the divine love and the gifts that the Father has given us, sitting back, observing, it says, the gifts people are giving to his Father. And yes, despite what many will say about mentioning money in the homily, or speaking about it from the pulpit, this is gospel proof that God cares deeply about what we give. Not for monetary reasons, but he sees it as an act of devotion and love directed toward him, because we value our financial means. Our money, our time, our talents. And we love with them. So we have two parts of this scenario. First, it says the wealthy are coming forward, giving large sums. But the Lord sees through it. Because at the end of the day, it's only surplus. It doesn't affect them, and Jesus does not seem to be very impressed with that. Why should he be? Chunk change for their own glory. But again, it's about a disposition of heart. What we treasure in here, we do out here. Now just imagine this story in the modern day. Let's say you have someone worth $10 million. And there's a capital campaign for whatever cause going on. And they publicly give $100,000. Many people would sit back, including myself, saying, wow, that's a large sum of money. But the reality of it is, they only gave 1%. 1%. Let's reduce it a little bit better so we can understand it sitting in the pew this Sunday. Let's say you have $100. It would be the equivalent of you giving $1 into the collection. The average U.S. household spends 1% on their dog annually in the United States of America. So to give 1% is to love God as much as a dog. Now just imagine coming face to face with Jesus at the end of your life, right? Because we can stack up all of the reasonings and excuses and everything else on top of what we do and make ourselves out to look pretty good. I do it myself. But when you're in the face of truth, all of that is pushed aside and you see the reality of it, and you realize that you treated God like your dog, as much as Bow Wow. Shame. Terrible shame. Which brings us to scenario number 2, the widow. And trust me, the situation of widows, as demonstrated with our scene from Elijah today, was very grave. They had no one to provide for them, was the real issue. And she comes up and she throws virtually everything that she has into the temple treasury as a gift to God, which for all those present means absolutely nothing. But in the eyes of Christ, who is God, she gave 100%, which again is more than the money. It's what her heart is saying. I love you. And in this relationship of love with you, I know you. And I give all of me to you. But even more so, in this relationship, I trust you to take care of me more than the world. You're going to take care of me, not my money, not the government, not me. You. And for those who truly know and love God, they know exactly what that relationship is. It's funny how nothing has really changed. Years ago now, I was involved in a massive capital campaign in my last parish, and I was about a year into it. It was Christmas. This elderly woman came up to me. She lived in community housing behind my rectory because that's where community housing was. And after the midnight mass, she came up to me all excited with this envelope. Merry Christmas. She's like, holds it out. I said, well, what is it? She's like, I have been saving all year because I wanted to make a gift at Christmas to Jesus for this project. So I took it, and she's like, well, open it. So I opened it up. And it was a $100 bill. And it was in that moment that God just overwhelmed me, and I was back at the temple treasury with him in that moment, and I thought, the amount of people that I have met with that could have paid for this project themselves, they gave me nothing but chunk change to get off their doorstep. And this woman, living in community housing on food stamps, saved an entire year to give everything that she had because she loved God. It wasn't about the building or the renovation or any of it. It was about Jesus and his home. And this is why Christ is so passionate about this, because it's not about the money, it's about hearts. It's also why I'm so unbelievably bewildered by one who has given his whole life to God, why the super majority of so-called believers are unwilling to do anything. And at the very most, the absolute least. How is it that we live in the richest country that has ever existed in human history, at the most wealthy time in its history, after our ancestors passed on everything that we enjoy, including our churches, and we can't maintain them? We've drained our foundations, our endowments. We can't make our annual budgets. And we have way, way, way more than what they did. We spend our money on meaningless entertainments in our culture, but we don't have enough time to pray, to stop in and see the one who is in this church hour after hour, week after week, month after month, and it's empty. We have time for everything else but him. We have the most talented workforce in human history, that so very few will lift a finger to help his church. Because we don't trust in God and we don't love God, we love our money. And we trust in our money and in ourselves to take care of ourselves. We spent 1,000 times more on this last election than what we have on God in the last probably 10 years. Imagine if our human relationships worked this way. A man gets down on one knee to propose with a sucker ring that he got out of a vending machine. He's frugal. Or as we celebrate our military, imagine if our men and women of the armed forces had the commitment that the Christian army of God has. They are willing to lay down their lives, and they have. I can remember when I was at officer training school how impressed I was that the men and women that were in the program with me were willing to go so far above anything I'd ever seen before. I thought to myself as a priest, if I lived my priesthood this way, I would be a saint. Shame on me. And yet somehow we think we can give God the least. The leftover, what we give to the dog. And that's loving him. My dear people, we need to love God like we love what we love. Because that's what love is. Or I suppose we can keep pretending that we can give God the least, the leftover, the 1%, and someday he's going to give us glory. Oddly enough, there is nothing else in this life that works that way. Do we really believe that eternity is any different? Or maybe Christ was mistaken when he said, the measure which you measure out will be measured out to you. And whatever you have done for the least of my people, you did to me. And so this week I ask you, do you really love Jesus? And don't answer with your thoughts and lip service. Of course, everyone's going to say yes. I want you to go into your lives personally, as spouses, as a family, and dig in to 3 areas. Again, it's not about the monetary amount, but what is the percentage that you are giving to God? Do the math and let it speak to you. Large or small, it's a percentage. 2, your time. Take a look at how much time you spend doing whatever you do hobby-wise. This time of the year, hunting for some, music, movies, Sunday football, election, psychopolitics. When was the last time you stopped into the church to spend time with the one that really wants to love you and make you free? How much time do you spend in prayer? How often do you go to confession? And slowly but surely it will bubble to the surface how committed you really are. And finally, your talents. Yes, we have our jobs and our families. Where are you serving the King that you claim to serve with your talents? 2% of this parish do anything for it. 2. Where is God calling you? All tough questions, but far better to answer honestly now while we still have time to make some changes. Versus coming before the King of the universe at our judgment and finding out that we enriched and served ourselves and our families, but treated our Father in heaven as nothing more than a dog.